Hey, this is Joe, and this is the 2017 year in review and January channel update patron Q&A take 2 because my SD card got corrupted and now I'm reshooting this. So I originally did 2 videos. One was going to be a pickups from Magfest with me opening some grab bags live. That's gone, and I can't really recreate that, so I'm just going to really quickly talk about some of the cooler things I got at Magfest that weren't games. I got a handful of games, but not a ton. A couple PC Engine games, a Japanese wrestling game, New Japan game, but I did get this guy from Fizzman Industries. That's on Etsy. It's Fizzman Industries. He had a really cool River City Ransom sculpture, but it was a little too expensive for me, so I got that Met. And also, this is super cool. This is a Neo Geo arcade marquee thing. They, 4-slot or 5-slot Neo Geo, there'd be 4 or 5 of these on the marquee with a light box, which is why it's sort of translucent. I don't have a light box or Neo Geo MVS, but it's cool. I got some grab bags, some Game Boy games, some Super NES games, and then I bought a couple of PC Engine games and 1 Super Famicom game. And that's really all I bought at Magfest. A couple of t-shirts, whatever. But I had a lot of fun. Got to catch up with Frank Cifaldi. Today is actually the last day of Magfest as I'm recording this, but I'm not there because it's a hassle to get there from my apartment in Arlington all the way to National Harbor, and Sunday's kind of like a half day, so I was there Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Great time. And today's the first day of, I think it's the first day of Awesome Games Done Quick, which is actually also in this area. I think it's in Fairfax County somewhere. I won't be going live or anything, but I will be watching a lot of the runs, and I'm wearing one of my old Games Done Quick. I don't remember if this shirt was for Summer Games Done Quick or just Games Done Quick, or Awesome Games Done Quick, I guess is the winter version. I don't remember which this shirt was for, but the Yeti always makes cool shirts, and they give like a third of what they make on each shirt to the charity. So, and I've already looked at this year's for Awesome Games Done Quick, and they're pretty dope, and I'm going to get a couple of them before the event is over, so you should check those out, or just give money to Games Done Quick, because it's a good cause. Anyways, moving on from that, we're going to talk about the survey. Hopefully you took the survey. A lot of people did. Maybe you didn't, but I did a year-end survey. That's a sort of a, what did you think of the stuff that I did? And we're going to talk about the results of that survey. So the first question was, what was your overall favorite video that we made this year on the On the Stick channel? And the number one answer, which was totally not unexpected, at least by me, was the Ninja Gaiden episode. 53.3% of respondents said the Ninja Gaiden Same Name Different Game episode was their favorite episode, favorite video on the channel this year. Then the Metal Gear Solid video, 20% was second place. I think, honestly, a lot of that had to do with it was one of the more recent videos, and it was one that I'd been promising to make for like 5 years. So, and then there was a 4-way tie for third place, which was Same Name Different Game Gunstar Heroes, Same Name Different Game NBA Jam Tournament Edition, Same Name Different Game Friday the 13th, and 5 spooky reasons to own Nintendo hardware, which is kind of surprising. I am very grateful that people like 5 reasons, that someone liked it enough to say it was their favorite thing that I did all year, but I am surprised. The next question was, what was your favorite episode of Same Name Different Game? I actually think the results of this are kind of weird, because 53.3% said that Ninja Gaiden was their favorite video overall, but only 40% said it was their favorite episode of Same Name Different Game. But 40% said Ninja Gaiden, 26.7% said Metal Gear Solid, and then a tie, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-way tie for third place, with only 6.7% each. Marvel vs. Capcom, Gunstar Heroes, Mega Man, WWF Warzone, and Gradius 3, which is kind of surprising that Gradius 3 snuck in there, but I think it's cool. Third question, what was your favorite episode of Obscure Games? 40% said Little Samson. I think there might be some recency bias in there, but I also am pleased with how that episode turned out. So, you know. Then there was a two-way tie for second place, Gradius Gaiden and Splatterhouse 2, which are two games that I really, really like, and I think that came through in those episodes, that those are games that I've liked. Not that just I like now, but that I've liked for a long time, and I think that helps. 13.3% said Mega Man Network Transmission, which is honestly a game that I didn't like all that much, but is like an interesting curio and something to talk about. So I think probably it was more of a people don't know necessarily about that game or what it's about or what it is, and that's why some votes there maybe. And then the last place with 6.7% was Kokorone, and yeah, I think I had a lot of fun with that episode too. A lot of support for the Mega Maniversary in there overall. If you combine all the Mega Maniversary, you know, responses, you end up with 60% of the votes were for Mega Maniversary installments of obscure old games. So, and then 5 Reasons. There was a tie for first place on this one with 26.7% each. 5 spooky reasons to own Nintendo hardware, and the Sega Master System episode, which was kind of surprising. Wonder if that might be British folks, PAL region folks responding. And then we had, with 20% of the vote, 5 comic reasons to own a Genesis, and then a two-way tie in last place, third place, last place, 13.3% said 5 reasons to own a PlayStation, and 5 wrestling reasons to own an N64. There's obviously a couple people who like the wrestling episodes in here, not a ton. The reason I did this survey is really to sort of get a vibe for what my most vocal viewers like and don't like. And yeah, I think I got a sense for that in some ways. The thing is that it's just very hard for me to figure out what's going to catch on and what doesn't, and not that that necessarily drives what I choose to make episodes on, but it is a factor. So like when I did the Friday the 13th episode, it's a new game, or relatively new game, the newest game I've ever covered. It was Friday the 13th, it was during October. I had a well-known guest on. I thought that thing was going to go crazy, and it didn't. You know, on the other hand, I thought the Mega Man episode would do well, and it did, you know, way better than I had imagined it would. So you never know. And then there were some supplemental questions to that, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at those now. And so these were, you know, kind of non-specific questions, just about like, well, first it was, you know, do you watch stuff that isn't the produced episodes, the Extra Life, stream archives, the On the Stick After Dark, Genesis or Genesis isn't, and it's really split just about down the middle. An odd number of people took the survey, so one more person said they do than said they don't, but it's pretty close to 50-50. And so then I asked, of those, you know, what were your favorite things? And most people said Extra Life. I do have to call out one specific response that basically said Extra Life, but someone said the sunk cost fallacy in regards to Doki Doki Literature Club. And if you didn't watch that part of the Extra Life stream, it is archived, and I will put it right here, so you can click on that and you can go watch the Doki Doki Literature Club episode, or it's not an episode, but segment. And one person said the Alone in the Dark Game Boy Color, part of our 31 horror game streams that we did over the month of October. You know, and it was really nice that even though the website itself is not up anymore, if you go to onthestick.com, it just takes you here to the YouTube channel. But we were able to keep the tradition going of having one horror themed thing happening every day in October, and we did, mostly Eric, but I tried to participate as much as I could, and some of the nights he couldn't make it, I was able to stream something and get it on there. So every day in October we did a horror game stream. And then I just asked for some kind of general feedback. One person said a lot. I'm not going to read individual responses verbatim, but one person talked about how they're just not into live streams. And like, I totally get that because I'm not really into them either. So I don't take it personally if you don't watch the live streams. Obviously, you can look at the view numbers and see that a lot more people watch the produced content than watch the live streams. And that's totally fine. Like, I totally get that. You don't have to explain that. You know, some people just aren't into that stuff. I personally am not into that stuff. I watch very few live streams that aren't my own, or like Games Done Quick I watch because those people play at such a high level. But I generally shy away from live streams too, so I totally get it. But we're gonna keep doing them anyways. So. And then, you know, some people said that they love Joey Pink. They just like a lot of the stuff. One person said that they hope I never just disappear. A lot of, you know, people that this person had followed apparently did. Clan of the Grey Wolf, who used to do 16-bit gems, Gaming Pixie, Half-Bit, Retro Hunters, all kind of just disappeared without a word. And yeah, I think if I ever was to stop making content, I would put up a video explaining why, but I don't see that being a thing anytime soon. So that takes us to, I'm going to do some general sort of channel update stuff right now. So first things first, Extra Life was a big success to us, and we had some donation goals. So some of that stuff is going to be coming on the channel. The biggest thing for me in terms of work I need to do is going to be taking our console drafts that we had done in the past and turning them into videos. So I'm going to need to capture game footage from all those games and then string them together with this existing podcast audio. So I'm going to do them, my plan is to do them in the order they were recorded. So like 8 or 9 years ago, we did, 8 years ago. Yeah, 8 years ago, we did the NES draft. And if you're not familiar, if you never listened to these when they were podcasts, they are like a fantasy football snake style draft of games for a certain system library. So we did NES, then we did Super NES, then we did PlayStation 1, then we did Genesis. And so all of those I'm going to turn to videos and put them on the YouTube channel. I promised during Extra Life that they would be done by the end of the year. I'd like to have them all done by the time Extra Life happens again, because that would be optimal. And then one of the other donation goals was that we would do another system draft, and one of the top donors would get to decide what system the draft would be on, and that person chose the PlayStation 2. So there will be a brand new on-the-stick video game draft on the PlayStation 2, which is the most successful home console of all time and has, you know, one of the biggest libraries, if not the biggest library. I would have to double check my numbers on that, but one of the biggest libraries in history. So that there's going to be so much to cover for that. So I'm really excited about that. As far as the normal stuff goes related to Extra Life, also there were 2 requests. A lot of people donated at a level that would have given them a request, and they said, you know, I don't really have anything in specific I want to see you do. Just keep up the good work, which makes me feel great in a way, because they gave that amount of money just to support the charity, not because they were going to get something from me out of it, which I think is super cool. But a couple people did make requests. There's a request for an episode of Same Name, Different Game, and a request for an episode of Obscure Old Games. So those will both be happening this year. And I have an idea of what I'm going to do for the annual sort of multi-part series. I have to fine-tune how I'm going to execute on that idea, because it's a little different than what I've done in the past. But you know, I did the Summer of Sega, the Nintendo Entertainment Celebration, the Super Summer, and the Mega Maniversary, and this year we're going to do something else. It's going to be a little different, but in the same spirit, so look forward to that. And then, you know, as far as just the immediate future goes, right now my plan is to do the next 2 Same Name, Different Games are going to be revisiting games that I've talked about in the past, but ports of those games that I have not talked about. And then that will take us to March, which will get us to WrestleMania season. And then also I'm planning on building a new computer right around WrestleMania. So that is going to hopefully maybe increase some turnaround time and that kind of thing. So look forward to that. But yeah, pretty jazzed about that. Because this laptop, I have a gaming laptop that I've been using for 7 years now. And it's starting to chug a bit. So yeah. And I think that's about it as far as channel update stuff goes. But yeah, expect more stuff. I didn't do as many videos this year as I thought hoped I would. I hoped to match what I did in 2016. That didn't happen, but some of the stuff was a lot more ambitious. The Ninja Gaiden episode, for example, pre-production started in February. The video went up in late May. That was a much more ambitious thing than anything I've ever done before. I'm super proud of how it turned out. And in fact, because it was voted as the favorite overall video in the survey, I am going to do a commentary track for it, which it really deserves, because there is just so much going on in that video that I think a commentary track is very much merited. But yeah, I didn't do as many videos as I hoped I would, but I sort of count the NBA Jam and NBA Jam Tournament Edition videos as two that I did. And I think it would be reasonable for Eric of Game vs. Game to say the same, because aside from editing, it was really a 50-50. Well, I mean, it was 50-50 in terms of editing, because we each edited one episode, but the whole rest of the project was like, you know, just totally a collaborative effort. So even though his episode is solely edited by him and my episode is solely edited by me, everything else in both episodes was a collaborative deal. And so I think, you know, I count that as 2 videos that I made, and I think he should count it as 2 that he made if he's keeping track of that kind of stuff. Yeah, so that's about it. That will take us to our Q&A. So remember, if you are a Patreon supporter, and thankfully Patreon did not change their payout scheme as they were talking about doing, so hopefully everybody sticks around, but you can give it a $5 per video level on Patreon, and then you will be able, or more, and you will be able to ask a question for these monthly Q&As. So I'm going to start with Joel, who's got a couple questions. The first thing he asks is, with the release of the Mega Man Same Name Different Game and the DOS review therein, does this mean we might see computer games be featured more in the future? Maybe. I don't have any plans right this moment to talk, like there's nothing on the production slate right now where I'm like, that is going to include discussion of a computer game. The reason that I included it in that episode is because, one, I knew people would go ballistic if I didn't. In fact, an unexpected instance of people going ballistic, and the reason that I included Mega Man Powered Up in that video, even if it was only for a second, is because people went ballistic when I didn't talk about Twin Snakes in the Metal Gear Solid video. Ballistic is, I'm overselling it, but like several people brought it up and complained like, you didn't talk about Snake Eater. Twin Snakes, not Snake Eater. You didn't talk about Twin Snakes. So I knew people would be upset if I didn't talk about the DOS version, and I knew that it was available for free and it would play in the browser on archive.org. So that was really, it was a confluence of things that sort of made that the case. I wouldn't expect to see computer versions or computer ports in every episode from now on, but you know, maybe. He also asks, where did the name On the Stick come from? So this is a little bit of a long story. I'll try to keep it as short as possible. We started, and when I say we, I mean Mike, Kurt, Eric, and myself, started as a spin-off of a podcast that started on a particular gaming forum. And the forum's name was a reference to Clash at Demon Head for the NES. Well, the forum still exists. Is a reference to Clash at Demon Head. So the main podcast was called Cast at Demon Head. We started a spin-off, or I should say Eric really was the driving force at the time. Eric started a weekly show and it was called Cast at Demon Head Weekly. And we did probably 10 or 12 of those, and then it turned into, oh, we should just do our own thing and not be tied to this other thing, because then the regular Cast at Demon Head wasn't recording very often, and so it just turned into like, we're just gonna spin off and do our own thing. So the description for Cast at Demon Head in Libsyn, which was the podcast hosting thing we were using at the time, included something like, it was like a weekly video game podcast from 4 smooth hepcats who are on the stick, Daddy-O. And that is, it's like a jazz era slang for like being on point, being cool guy, making the scene, you know, you're on the stick, Daddy-O. So that was part of it, but we brainstormed a bunch of names and Mike was just like, why don't we just go with on the stick? Because, you know, there was that bit in there, but then also the stick is slang for a microphone in professional wrestling. So when he's good on the stick means he's a good talker in wrestling jargon. So that was part of it, because Eric and I are wrestling fans. And then at the time we were doing like weekly Rock Band, because that was when Rock Band was so super popular, and they were doing weekly DLC still. So we there's like a drumstick thing. Kurt is actually a drummer. He was a drummer in a band at one point. So microphone, drumstick, obviously joystick. You know, so that was where the name came from. That's what we went with. He says, once again, I'm a season late, but what are some of your favorite Christmas movies? You know, there are a lot. I actually like Christmas a lot. So, I mean, most of the standards, you know, It's a Wonderful Life, Holiday Inn, White Christmas, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Die Hard, of course. You know, those are really like a lot of the standards. I'm Scrooged with Bill Murray. I love, yeah, I like that stuff a lot, just kind of in general. But I would say, you know, like Die Hard and It's a Wonderful Life are probably my favorites. Do you feel you have to complete the games featured in the shows? No, I don't. I try to. Sometimes there just isn't time. Like sometimes I've completed them in the past and there just isn't time to get a full capture of a playthrough. Sometimes I mean, it's just, there's a number of factors. Sometimes the game is bad. I wasn't going to play all the way through Wolverine Adamantium Rage. Like, it's bad. It's a bad game and it's not fun. And after playing it for a couple hours, you have a sense of what, like, it's not like the last stage is suddenly going to be some revelation where it's like, oh, no, this game was secretly good all along. Like, that's not the case. So, and yeah, maybe in the case of something like Nier Automata, like, maybe, you know, things change so much in that game that you would get to the end and suddenly be like, oh, this is a totally different experience than I thought it was. You know, but with older games, that's not the case, so. And his last question is, where did the idea for Roger the Retro Gaming Puppet come about? This is another kind of long story, so I'm going to try to be as succinct as I can. My sister gave me a puppet as a birthday present, and I think it was 2012. And yeah, I wanted to use it. You can actually go back a little further than that. I had a concept for, before I even started making videos for YouTube and stuff, I had a concept of a show called the Jake and Puppet Gaming Show, or the Jake and Puppet Retro Gaming Show, and it was going to be my friend Jake, who now lives in Chicago, and myself, but not me, a puppet. And this was before I had the puppet. And, you know, I just like puppets. I think puppets are sweet. So it was going to be my friend Jake talking to a puppet, who would be me out of frame, about video games. But it never really got past that point. You know, we conceptualized it. I said, "Are you interested?" And he said yes. And it never got any further than that. So, but then when my sister gave me this Whatnot, which is so Roger is actually a Muppet, a Jim Henson Muppet, a consumer grade one, but he is a Muppet. And so Whatnots are not any of the people, but most of the people with the blue or green or orange heads. Like Ernie and Bert are almost Whatnots, but like the dude who orders soup from Grover on Sesame Street, like there's that whole series of bits where like there's a guy, Grover's a waiter, and there's a guy, and that guy, he's a Whatnot. A lot of the humans, like not Statler and Waldorf, but that style of human where they're oval or oblong heads and they're different colors, those are called Whatnots. So my sister gave me this Whatnot, and I wanted to use it in a show, and the name is alliterative, right? Roger the Retro Gaming Puppet. But he's also named after my sister and her family, because my sister's husband's name is Rogers. So now her name is Rogers, and my nephew's names are Rogers. So that's part of it. And then also the bass player in Less Than Jake, his name is Roger. And they're one of my favorite bands. So there you go. And now we've got a couple questions from Tony. She asks, are you going to any big gaming conventions / events later this year? Yes, I'm going to at least one. I'm planning to go to the Midwest Gaming Classic in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I hopefully will have some more news about specifics on that. I can't talk about because nothing is in stone yet, but hopefully I will have some news about that soon in terms of what's going to be going on there. But I'm definitely planning to go to Milwaukee and go to the Midwest Gaming Classic in April. I'd like to go to too many games, especially after missing 2017, but there's a number of factors that may stop me from doing that, so that's a maybe right now. And then I'd love to go to Seattle Retro Gaming at some point. One of my very best friends lives in Seattle, so I like to get out there when I can anyways, but again, it's just, I don't know if that's actually going to happen or not. So that's, Midwest Gaming Classic is the only for sure right now. And I just got back from Magfest, I went to Magfest this weekend, but that happened and is over already, so. And then she says, what are your favorite action movies of the last couple of years? I would say, 2017, John Wick 2, absolutely. And if you're going back sort of further, The Raid 2, The Raid. I thought Atomic Blonde was pretty good. It was kind of slow in some of the bits, but the tracking shot hallway stairway fight is absolutely fantastic. And I like the soundtrack a lot too to that movie, and visually it was good. I didn't like it as much as I hoped I would like it, but those things are really great. And then I would say just like a lot of the superhero movies are doing really great stuff in the action front. Winter Soldier had some fantastic action sequences and fights. There's been a couple, just some low-key stuff that doesn't get maybe as much praise. Like anything with Scott Adkins. And Scott Adkins was in Doctor Strange. When they're fighting in the spirit world and Strange has him shock him back to life, kind of, when he's like that guy that he's fighting is Scott Adkins. But like his movies where he stars, especially like Ninja and Ninja 2 Shadow of a Tear, are really great. He's a really talented martial artist, and he takes the fight choreography very seriously, you can tell. And Hard Target 2 he was in. That one I haven't watched yet, but I've heard it's pretty good. Those movies are super fun. Ninja and Ninja 2 have a lot of really great fights. Ninja also has a really bizarre scene where he takes a shower with the female lead and they're both fully dressed. Just super weird. And it's not like a romantic, it's not like the shower scene in The Specialist with Sylvester Stallone and Sharon Stone. Like it's like they're just kind of standing in the shower fully clothed. It's really weird. And Universal Soldier 6, I don't know. The one where Van Damme is like dressed up like Colonel Kurtz in Apocalypse Now. I can't even remember what it's called. Universal Soldier The Resurrection, maybe? I don't remember, but it's Scott Adkins plays the lead. The storyline is completely bonkers and makes absolutely zero sense, but Scott Adkins like punches a bowling ball into like someone throws a bowling ball at him and he punches it and it explodes into a dust cloud. So really, that should be all you need. So yeah, and that does it for Q&A, which means that basically does it for this video. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing, and if you're a Patreon donor, for giving. And again, if you want to ask questions like these and have me answer them for you, a $5 backing level on Patreon will get you there. And I will talk to you with another one of these next month, and look for the first installments of the produced shows coming soon.